Turn my headphones down a little bit.
Turn me up in the speaker, Shan.
Mus
in here, got the grub, got the food.
Always. Oh, you gotta get your calories.
Now you gotta get your energy. You gotta get your energy for what we about to talk about today.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You gotta get your energy for what we about to talk about today.
Cause
Yo, we back, baby. That boy Mus hungry.
let's get it.
Mus, what's the deal today, man? What's the deal today?
What's good?
It's just the mood we in today. It's the mood the country in today. You know what I'm saying? We got a new president-elect.
New president-elect, hopefully.
How you feel about it?
He said hopefully. Hopefully, I can watch.
Hey. Whoa.
Don't even know where I'm at.
That's how the Dems feel about the Republicans right now.
Honestly.
No, it's not. Tell him. Go. Yeah. Damn, babe. I guess they know now, huh? Who took me Mus?
Hell yeah.
Man, let's not waste one more time, man. We back, baby. You know what I'm saying? Season 5 with the guys.
Hell yeah.
Face of the Future podcast. What are we, episode 41?
Yes, sir.
Episode 41. It's your boy Millz.
It's your boy Shan. Big Mus in the house.
You know what I'm saying? Guys, it's been a minute, man.
Back.
It's been a minute, but we back and we in action, we live.
Yes, sir.
What y'all been up to, man? What y'all been up to?
Ooh.
The streets, the fans, they've been waiting for us. When y'all recording again, we back. And there's a
Yeah.
lot to discuss. A lot has happened since last time we've been on the mic, you've been on the pod.
A whole lot.
So how y'all been, man? Let's start with you, Shan. How you been? What you been up to?
Can't complain, dog. Living.
Yeah,
living, man.
Life's good.
Yep.
How's the reffing situation?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The season coming to an end. It'll be the last 2 weeks, but it's been great. With the COVID, it's been crazy. A lot of cancellations, a lot of school shutting down, but, it's been a very fluid situation, but everyone's done their part, make it as best as possible.
Definitely.
We're coming down to the end here. I feel like the season just started.
They got you doing playoff games?
There is no playoffs.
Oh, there's no playoffs?
No playoffs.
So what's the point of them playing this year? Just
they're doing these things called pods. They're going to try and pretty much taking the top 4 teams from each group, seed them 1 through 4. Winners will play, losers will play. There's no trophy or anything like that. But
so they're just
do
playing
something, to incentivize it. And plus, to get the kids some more games. There was only a 6-week season. Some teams didn't even get to play all 6 games because of shutdowns and stuff. I had a team that it was like week 3 of the season. They had 1 practice because of the COVID situation in their school. They had 1 practice.
Just 1?
Going up against a team that had already played 3 games.
Okay.
So you talk about an advantage.
Did they get ran?
Nah, they ran the other team.
Dang.
So you never know. Any given Friday.
Yeah, it don't really matter at the end of the day.
You don't matter, So you've seen a lot of, I will say, crossover games where, like, you have a bigger, Group 1 school playing a bigger Group 4 school, which has kind of been a positive with this whole thing. But, it's been good. I love being out there.
Right.
I don't care what the situation was. If it was 2 weeks, I'll be out there.
So are some of your stresses and worries that you had before the season started kind of like going away since y'all been in the flow? Everything's like not as crazy as you thought it was going to be?
No, for us, really, we'd have to wear our mask walking onto the field, talking to the coaches pregame, and then you can take it off.
Yeah.
And ref the game. Some guys will keep their mask on the whole time. They have these electronic whistles that some guys use.
Oh, really? Electronic? What's that? How do you operate an electronic whistle? Like, how's that happen?
It sounds the same as a regular whistle.
Okay.
But you just have to tune the harder than you got to do just blowing into a whistle.
Okay. So it's like a little thing on the side, or?
Yeah, it's like a handheld thing.
Okay.
You just hold it down and it blows. Yeah.
Okay.
But
do you use that or use a regular drum?
I use a regular drum.
I know you like the effect, like you like.
Yeah, and the whole thing, like I've been wearing gloves the whole year, so I'm out there in the middle. I place the ball, so I'm out there snagging balls one hand. Man, I've had so much fun.
I bet.
Yeah, being back around the game, being back around the kids. You build a relationship with these kids. Some kids I've seen them from their sophomore year to now their senior year, being able to talk to them like, where you guys going to college, where you guys, you know what I'm saying? So that's one of the great things about it.
Nah, that's good. That's good to hear that things are going well. You know what I'm saying? Since last time we talked, and things are flowing, and you're flourishing in what you want to do.
Yeah, I love it.
You know what I'm saying? It's glad to hear it. What about you, Mus? What you been up to, man? Staying out of trouble or what?
I've been in the gym. That's it.
You been in the gym? You gearing up for all these battles about to happen with all these people?
Yeah, you damn skippy. This race war is about to come and happen, y'all.
Whoa, what you mean about that?
What you mean? Yo, you seen the election? Like, come on now. Like, I just, after seeing how Philly looked, Detroit, all these other places look, you just gotta stay prepped because you never know what's gonna happen on any given Sunday.
That's a fact.
That's a fact in general, not just with this election. That's you know.
Cause like I was at my girl's house the other day and she was like, mom was like, yo, you gotta be careful because you're coming out at night. And where they live, like they live in like a really, really like, let me not say sketchy, but they live in a very, very they have the development, and if you go down like 2 miles, it's like a Hickstown. Mm-hmm. So you gotta be like hella careful, like where she at. So it's like she's like, yo, just be careful. I'm like, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be in my car, unless it's gonna be some GTA nonsense where they come in.
Unless you riding down the back roads or something like that, so pull up on you on some crazy shit.
Yeah, nah, I'll be alright. But it was just like, but on a serious note though, it's like I just been in the gym, just been cooling.
I really getting your weight up.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm just trying to lose weight.
Same. So you trying to cut right now? It's bulking season.
I mean,
you know that. You're a gym junkie.
I'm at 200.
Alright, so you see.
I'm trying to lose 10 pounds.
Okay, 190. Okay, that's a nice little.
Get that?
Yeah,
that's easy money.
Yeah, it's easy money, but I like to eat.
True. I mean, that's all of us. We've been athletes, so it's just natural. But anyway, let's jump right into it though. Let's jump
how
right
you
into
been, Millz?
You trying to skip over you. I try to hop over. I'm good. I'm good. I can't complain. Life is good. It could be worse, like you said. I can't really. If you complain, then like you're not really gonna get nowhere. So you know what I'm saying, I'm good to have my health. You know what I'm saying, my family's good, friends good. And we're moving forward. I mean, a lot of positive things that happened last month. A lot of negative things that happened last month. You want to think about it in the grand scheme of the culture. But personally, I have no complaints. I'm just excited. It's Q4, going into the new year almost. So it's like I just want to end. Yeah, that's what I said. Wow, I just want to end the new year on a high note and go into 2021 on a positive uphill swing. I think we all do.
Right.
You feel me? So. Right. But everything's good, bro.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be back. That's the thing. I'm just glad to be back with the guys. I've been waiting for this specific conversation that we're about to have. I've been waiting for a long time. And the way things have like transpired, how stuff just ended yesterday.
Yeah.
And now we on the pop. It's perfect timing.
Here in Philly, where we at right now.
Yeah, we in Philly. Yeah. We're in Philly studios. We right by where a lot of stuff is happening, protests, things like that. Over the last few months, or just the whole year, not just the last few months. So it's just kind of, like I said, perfect timing. Yep. The irony of the situation, how we ended up here, season 5. Philly was one of the turning points in the election. And how y'all feel about that?
I love it.
You love it?
Love it.
You know what I'm saying?
Bad things happen in Philadelphia.
I feel
you got now.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
And it's just, I think it's so crazy that, because, Philly gets such a bad rep across the country in general. 100%. Just based on, like, the people that are in there, where it goes to sports fans, just the way we interact with outsiders.
You're crazy.
Yeah, especially you a Philly fan.
We talk shit.
Hella shit.
So
at the
same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's like now y'all have something to talk y'all shit about.
You know what I mean?
So what can y'all say to us now?
Yeah.
Y'all wanted this to happen, and we pushed that.
We brought it home.
We brought it home. We closed the deal. The closer. Yep. I mean, that's what you can call the city of Philadelphia now. The closer. You feel me? Because y'all closed the deal.
Shine a bright light on the city. For the people that wanted to see it.
So I was in the city yesterday after the news got announced. You feel me?
Yeah.
And I don't know if y'all had the same sentiments or same feelings about once all the news during the election of Joe Biden getting selected as the next president of the United States. It almost felt like the people in the city felt like they overthrew a dictator. That's the vibe I got.
Yeah, it is.
That's the vibe I got from the people. From the people in the city. That's they were cheering, like finally we're out of like the Trump regime or Trump, whatever you want to call it.
I know you was out yesterday, and I was out to eat yesterday in Philly and Northern Liberties as well, and people driving down the street,
honking on horns,
going crazy. He took over there shaking his head.
I was looking at it, I'm like, I was around the area too, and I'm just like, yo, like, these people are really, it's interesting, because it's like, you guys are right. I think, like, I mean, it's interesting that we're looking at it as if it was, like, this big, old, evil thing, but I looked at it as, like, I think people were more so embarrassed that Trump was president, more so than, like, they felt like he was this bad person. In my opinion, I think Trump has been the most consistent president, because he's been a consistent shithead for the past 4 years, right?
I can't disagree.
So it's like, I feel like the fact now that he lost, it's like, all right, we don't have to feel embarrassed because it's like I feel like as Americans we have this kind of like, I guess this kind of bravado about us, or like this kind of ego about us that it's like, we appear to be the best country, we appear to have all these great things, you know what I'm saying? Like we have the best leadership, we have the best army. So
quote
it's like,
unquote, the air quotes.
Yeah, so it's like having Trump in office and you have a dude who acts like a child in charge of the nuclear codes. It's very, very interesting. And it's just very interesting now that, you have an Eagles fan that's about to be in charge of the nuclear codes because it's like, imagine if the Eagles lose first round of the playoffs,
That's a shot at you, Shan. That's a shot at you. You coming crazy. You started out early.
I'm not going to sit here and take that from somebody that became a Patriots fan after 2004.
That was 16 years ago. I was like 10 years old. I was 10 years old.
You were forward, and you were like the Patriots of all people. So
of course,
that's like
How are Patriots doing this year?
I digress.
I mean, first of all, COVID happened.
COVID
happened. COVID happened. Tom Brady left. So it was expected. Tom Brady was the reason why he was winning, but nobody wanted to admit that.
Okay.
So you think Tom Brady more than Belichick?
Yes. I've always thought that.
You don't think it's a system?
No. Because if it was the system, then Tom Brady wouldn't be doing what he's doing right now.
If there's any sport where coaching matters, it's definitely football.
No, it's important, but it's like you have to have someone buy into it, right? And the quarterback is seen as your leader. So if you don't have your quarterback buying in and your quarterback executing the way they need to execute, then there's no way that the head coach is going to get the respect. Because in a lot of cases, look at Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. It was a lot of cases where at a certain point, we know Aaron Rodgers is talented, but they were just like, okay, what are we about to do? Because Aaron Rodgers is talented, he still has an arm, he still can fling it. Mm-hmm. So it's like we have to throw out Mike McCarthy. You know what I mean? Granted, justified.
That's a good point.
But it's like if your quarterback is still super talented and you don't see any type of regression around him, then you have to sit here and look at the coach. But because Belichick and Brady worked very, very well together on both sides of the field, it was very, very difficult to look at. You know what I mean? So
I would say, we're getting a little bit off track here.
Yeah, we got
real quick. I will say, with this situation being, Tom Brady went to a team that was fucking loaded.
That's facts.
Loaded. He never had weapons like that in New England. You know what I'm saying? Never. Not since the 18-0 year. But back to what we were saying, I want to agree with what you said. It was interesting that I thought about the situation was you seen a lot of Trump fans that were like you said, kind of embarrassed. It's like, yeah, I voted for this dude, and I am a Republican, but I can't continue to support someone who acts this way.
Yeah. And
have him as the figurehead of our country. I can't get behind it. So that's what I found most interesting about the entire election, because when you're watching these coverages, you see especially a lot of, I'll say like moms and women on the Republican side saying, I just can't support this dude no more. Point blank period. So that was one of the more interesting things to me about the whole election.
Yeah, definitely. And then also like seeing the tides turn of like the different states that were once red and they flipped.
Yeah.
Like who was it? Georgia, who's normally red.
Yeah.
Arizona, who most of the time is it Arizona?
It was Arizona. Georgia doesn't have somebody yet. They still have to do another race.
No. I'm talking about in the history of like states that are normally red were flipped. You feel me? Or as opposed to last election, 2016, a lot of the states that were red, that were the reason Trump won the last election, were flipped.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohio went blue.
That was nuts.
You know what I mean? Ohio went blue. You know what I mean? Seeing that was like, whoa. Like when you saw that on like the first night, it was like, this is getting rid. That's why I texted you, like, this election is starting to heat up.
No, it was. It was starting to heat up. It was like a heavyweight fight, bro. It was really like a heavyweight fight. And I was talking to one of my friends in Colorado, and we were just talking about all the states that are gonna make a difference. I'm like, bro, it's gonna come down to Pennsylvania. It's gonna come, not Pennsylvania. It's gonna come down to Philadelphia.
Battleground.
Because he was just looking at the state of Pennsylvania. He's like, Pennsylvania, most of their votes are. I'm like, nah, bro. Philly still has a lot of people to vote, and there's a lot of the population is in that city in Pennsylvania. He's like, nah, bro, nah. And he texted me yesterday. He's like, bro, you were right. Yeah. You were right. I'm like, it's a fact.
It was also down to Georgia too.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have to shamelessly plug myself. I said this like, how many months ago did I say this? When Kamala Harris first got picked to be VP, I said it. You should have had Stacey Abrams, and look what happened.
Stacey Abrams put in the groundwork, bro.
Stacey Abrams really put the team on her back. And for a lot of the people that don't know, Stacey Abrams, she was either senator, governor. She was an elected official in Georgia, and what she went and did was she had about 800,000 people register to vote for the first time, and as a result, a lot of those people ended up voting Democratic and being the reason why Georgia ended up flipping. Mm-hmm. So, to be honest with everybody, yeah, I'm shamelessly plug myself, and I said this months ago. She should have been the VP. Granted, she may not have the experience, but I honestly think that, in my opinion, if we're gonna need to pay attention to a lot of the young, up and coming elected officials or public figure or public office people, Stacey Abrams is one. AOC is another one. Those are the two people that you have to start paying attention to because they're making big waves in politics, and how they move is going to be very, very interesting in the next couple of years.
Nah, definitely. Do you think Stacey Abrams is going to get a position in the administration?
I don't know.
She should.
She should. She should. If she's not going to get a position specifically, like a cabinet position, she's probably going to end up doing something big for the DNC. Because I think like the DNC needs a lot of work, and I think just the Dems in general need a lot of work.
100%.
Because they don't. The biggest problem that they had throughout the whole Trump tenure was that they didn't seem what's the word I'm looking for? They didn't seem like one unit. Like everybody seemed separated. Like you had the extreme, you had the Bernie extremists, you had the Elizabeth Warren on the fence extreme / conservativeness. You had the people who want to keep the status quo, and then you had the super conservative Dems. And I think that because of that, that was part of the reason why a lot of people were looking at the Democrats and like, how are you guys going to win? You know, like I was looking at it like that, like how the hell y'all going to win?
Because the spectrum was so big.
Yeah, because the spectrum was weird because it's like you had everybody wanting, like you had all the young people wanting Bernie to be in office. You had a lot of the people who didn't want socialism, like me. You wanted Elizabeth Warren to be there because she can walk that fence.
That
you know what I mean? Yeah,
like tend to both sides of the
fence. She could tend both sides, but she doesn't give a shit. You know what I'm saying?
She was really straightforward and blunt, and I kind of like that about her.
Extremely.
Like, and it's crazy to say that because like Trump is the same way, straightforward and blunt, but it's the way she goes about her bluntness, whatever. How
she's a politician.
The biggest problem.
That's what it comes down to. I mean, Trump's not a politician, so just the rhetoric and the way it comes off is different versus even Trump and Biden.
But I even have a hard time like saying like I like that stuff because it's almost like a double standard. Like you're saying you like something from one person, but when another person does it, it's like, all right, we're bashing that person. It's because not to like cape for him or nothing like that.
It's
but
because she's a white woman. It's because she's a woman. Like,
explain that. What do you mean by that? I'm not even saying this because of
that. Because the reason why, and this is why for me, because I'm gonna share my opinion on this whole thing.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Like my whole thing is that my biggest problem with the Democrats and people that I've been talking to about this has been my biggest problem. The Democrats, to be honest with you, are really just like the Republicans. The Democrats this election wanted to keep things the very, very traditional status quo. They wanted somebody who has experience, somebody who they all respect in office, somebody who's not going to push the agenda too forward, but still manage to try to work with all the Dems and see some way if they could work with other Republicans, right? And so my thing about that's good and dandy if the Republicans were doing that. The Republicans don't give a shit. Like, the Republicans did whatever they wanted for the past 4 years, and the only thing the Dems want to do is try to keep things very traditional. And in this America that we're living in, where America is not traditional anymore, even going down to dating all the way up to how people get their money, it's like we're not in a traditional America anymore. So my problem with the Dems is that you guys back behind somebody who, in my opinion, he may be respected, he may know a lot of people, but he may not really, he may not push the Dems to be a little bit more progressive than they should be. And so going back to my comment about Elizabeth Warren, the problem with Elizabeth Warren was that Elizabeth Warren has good ideas. She had the best ideas. She was very organized. The problem with Elizabeth Warren is that a lot of people don't like her, from what I was told. A lot of people don't like her because, you know, she's very stuck in her ways.
She's polarizing too.
Yeah, she's very polarizing. Like the situation that happened like years ago at Wells Fargo, when she just went off on everybody. Like, a lot of people were really turned off by that. You know what I mean? And so now, when she's running for president, she was very, like, she didn't really have an identity. Like, people were like, okay, she's not attacking everybody else and everybody's attacking her. So she starts attacking. Then they're like, why is she attacking everybody? Then she stopped talking. And it's like, why is she not saying anything now? So she's really getting pulled back and forth because she wants to seem like this good person. But for me, I think that it would have helped her better if she was just who she is. because it would have gotten her more points. But I also think that she would have gotten more points. But I also think that because she's a woman, she wouldn't have gotten the respect that she should have gotten. I think, to be honest with you, it really should have been her that they should have pushed forward to become the presidential nominee. But America's not ready for a woman in office, yet alone a white woman. So
no, that's true. I don't feel like they're ready at all. But I want to go back to the point you were talking about on how the Dems try to keep things traditional, based on the party and who they picked to be the head of the party and Joe Biden, that type of thing. I had this conversation with my parents and some other people as well about how our generation is not so much tuned into the two-party system. We're more so an age group that wants we're more so an age group that wants to pick the best candidate for our country. And I got to a big debate about this. How, like on primaries, I personally don't think when there's primary elections you should have to register as a Democrat or Republican. You should have a ticket with everybody on there. Because what if you like? I agree with that. What if you have what if somebody you like on one side of the party that you want out of the office as opposed to the other side of the party, but you only can vote for the candidates that are in, like, say you register as a Democrat in that party. You have no say what happens on the other side. I don't like that. I don't think that's a real democracy. You just have a say that happens across the whole board.
I agree with that.
Which is ridiculous to me. And if you want to be a real democracy, I think you should go by popular vote as well. Those are two things that I think that should be changed in terms of
democracy.
That's ain't no democracy. No, but I'm saying that's what I'm trying to say. They want to call our nation, our system of democracy, treated as such. You know what I'm saying?
It's not treated as such. Like, I haven't done research on this, so to everybody that's listening, you guys can research this. If I'm wrong about this, you can DM me and tell me I'm wrong. But apparently, the Electoral College was made because black people were allowed to vote at a certain point.
Nah, I don't think it was.
I heard it. Like I said, I may be one.
It was made back in the day because more like back when the country first started. From when I learned, more states at the time had way higher populations.
You know what? Yeah,
so right. The weight carried more weight, so that's why it was created. So so one state didn't have more pull over the other. You feel me? Yeah. Because my dad broke it down to me. He was like, say like California, back then everybody in that state is like Democratic, whatever. Yeah, and it was only because it wasn't 50 states at the time, all that stuff.
That's a fact. Yeah.
You feel me? So it's like, but now that's like go back to what you said before. That's the traditional. That's the old traditional. We're in a new era in time. There's way more populated people in the country. You feel me? This was the most voted election in the history of the United States.
The most voted election, and mind you, oh gosh,
it has nothing to do with you. I'm about to campaigns and the way they push them out and the amount of money they do.
All right, now
campaigns.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Pushing it out to them. You know, people went out and voted this time.
People went out and voted this time because they were shamed into voting, and I don't like that.
Explain what you mean by shamed into voting.
So I'm like, once again,
I have thoughts on this too. So I want you to.
So as a black man in America. As a black man, I do not speak for anybody else that is not a black man. I just give you my perspective through a black man, as I've said for the past 4 seasons. So here I go. So as a black man living in America, I feel like this, like, I'm going to just be blunt. Like, I felt like it was just hella disrespectful how people viewed us, how people tried to attract us to vote, how we were viewed if we didn't vote, what the consequences would have been if Trump came back into office, and just how, like, we just got thrown a whole bunch of BS. For example, I've seen a lot of things on Twitter, on the internet, saying that, black men, you need to vote. I've seen an ad where, they tried to get black men to vote by using strippers to, prevent us to vote.
Yeah, well, who's the black sports analyst? She's a woman. I forget her name. She posted it.
Jamel Hill.
She posted that. I was like, "What is
Jamel Hill?" If you ever to listen to this podcast, you are the most useless person I've ever met in my life, bro.
Jamel Hill is very controversial.
She's controversial. I won't say useless. She's controversial.
And that's what I mean by that.
That's what I didn't like. I didn't like that post that she put with the strippers and all that stuff. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. Like that's the only way you're gonna get us to go out and make a difference is putting strippers in. Like,
and to me, when I see shit like that, I see people on the other side looking like, look at these motherfuckers here, man. They gotta get motherfuckers strippers to get motherfuckers.
You gotta get 2 chains out of it and start rapping. Like, that's all we're good for. Is
why would you take part in pushing and trying to push something like that? You're making us look bad.
Because people already look at us like that as it is. People already look worse. Making us look like, all right, so if we want them to do something, all we gotta do is fling this in front of them.
Right.
It's like, they'll run to this. It's like, bro,
come on,
man. We're more educated than that. We got more value than that. It's like,
and that's what I was saying. It's like the biggest problem, and this is what I mean when I say a lot of Dems have a very, very old school way of thinking, because they're just like the Republicans in how they think, right? It's just like you got like both Dems and Republicans view African Americans in a very stereotypical way, where it's like, okay, we like the sexualization of both black men and black women. You know, we tend to don't have a lot of space to be ourselves, and I feel like a lot of times they're just like, well, this is what we're gonna give you guys, and I think that going back to what I was saying before is just like you said with the two-party system, it's like, think about it, it's like, as African Americans, nothing is gonna change for us regardless Trump is in office or Joe Biden is in office. I'm gonna keep it a stack. So it's like, when you're shaming me to vote, right, where it's like, oh, if you don't vote and Donald Trump wins, black men, it's your fault, or, you know, last election, X percentage of black men voted for Donald Trump, this needs to change, it becomes a problem because it's like, if Donald Trump was to become president, right, which I honestly thought he would have if COVID didn't happen, if he became president, be honest, what actually would have changed in America for black people that we don't already experience as Democrats?
You said what would change for us if he got voted again?
Yeah, what would change just for specifically African Americans in America? What would change?
If like you said, are you asking if he got reelected, what would change for us?
Yes.
I mean, it would be the same course of what's going on now if he got reelected.
Yeah,
like,
that's my thing.
I mean, the only way it could get worse is if like he takes away rights or something like that. That's far-fetched in a sense.
That's for both parties though, because I feel like even though, you know, Biden is the president now, people voted for him. For me personally, it's like, you can say whatever you want to say. I'm not going to believe it till I see some action.
No,
so it doesn't matter what you sit here and tell me. I need to see it.
Yeah, just because everybody's excited, cheering, you know what I'm saying, doing what they got to do. They feel a certain way because obviously the last 4 years were rough. We're only speaking from our perspective. Rough in terms of the grand scheme of things. Not so much of like what's been going on and like with the police and all that stuff, but the climate and the way it's pushed and the way it's accepted. I think that's the biggest difference in the history, because the course of events that happened to us as black people, black males, it hasn't changed. It's just, it's heightened and it's accepted more, and it's like people are more out front about it. That's the thing that's the real fact that kind of like really changed in the grand scheme of things. So now that we have a new person in office, what I'm looking for is all the people that were pushing for this to happen, all the people that were saying if you don't vote for either person to vote for Trump, are you gonna now hold the Democratic Party? You're gonna now hold Harris and Biden accountable for the actions? Are you really gonna push the agendas that you say that they were gonna bring to the table for us, or are you just gonna be satisfied and complacent that we have Trump out of office?
That's what I want to see.
Because the biggest thing that I realized through conversation, and what I'm starting to realize, is that people were more so anti-Trump as opposed to pro-Biden.
And that's a big problem.
That's 100% the truth.
And that's the biggest problem.
On both sides.
That's the biggest problem with and that's the biggest problem with this whole situation when Trump came into office, where it's like, my biggest fear as somebody who's worked in politics, who's been considering having a political career, is that like, you guys are more so trying to do something to make somebody lose than to put in work for stuff that you want. And so my thing going back to just being African Americans in this country, it's like, we've always done things to get by. And it's like, at what point do we stop doing things to get by and take the risk to actually do stuff that makes us better? Because it's like, for me, if you want my honest opinion, I did not care. If you're African American and you did not vote, I did not care. Because it's like, for me, it's like, you can't tell me that, oh, it's your fault that Trump is in office, or it's your fault that this stuff happened. But it's like, you're not, like, the people that are shaming you are not even going to do grassroots work to go and help felons register to vote. Where you're not doing all these different things that are trying to help people, our people who are incarcerated, help people who can't even, get credit cards and get loans for business, put in work to help us progress as a society. So it's like, for me, it's like, I didn't want to, I'll be honest with y'all, like, I didn't want to vote. And I texted you, I was like, I'm really considering not voting, because it's like, ain't shit about to change for me. Because it's like, if Trump comes into office, you're just going to have more explosive, very, very explicit racism. Yeah. Democrats in office, it's
behind the closed doors.
Yeah, it's going to be behind the closed doors.
So what's your plan to make a change if you didn't vote? What would be your plan then?
Yeah, like,
because my thing is, like, with the people that say, oh, I'm not going to go vote, well, then you don't sit here and try to talk politics with me.
Yeah.
Period. Because you don't even have a voice in all this. You don't, you know what I'm saying? What value does your opinion? You didn't even go out and vote. You didn't even go out and make your, as much as your voice can be heard, you didn't even go let it be heard, even to the degree of voting, which, who knows if it really counts, whatever the case may be. You know how some people feel about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Some people feel like their votes don't even matter in general.
Yeah.
But if you didn't vote, we can't have a conversation about it then.
Why do you think that?
Because you didn't do anything to
have a change,
to make your voice heard or to have a change. So that's why I'm asking you. If you wouldn't have voted, what would be your plan to make a change? So, or what should people that feel like they can't vote do?
So before I answer that question, I'm gonna take it a little weird angle. So if I pay taxes in this country and I contribute to certain things, if I have to pay taxes to say local legislation, federal legislation, things of that nature, and they're putting money into things, just as an example, they're putting money into things that I don't agree with, or my money is not being valued, do I still not have a say in how things, I still can't complain about that? It's like saying, if you're giving me your money to say, putting it in a stock account, and I'm putting it into bad stocks, do you still not get a right, do you still not have a right to say what?
I understand what you're saying.
So it's like, my thing is that, you're right in terms of, I get what you're saying, but for me, it's like, I still live here, I'm a citizen, and I pay taxes. So my thing is that, even though I may not vote, me not voting isn't necessarily not because of the fact of like, oh, I just don't want my voice to be heard. I also believe that your right to vote, I also believe that your right to not vote is also a voting right. Because if you're looking at the people, they're not giving you what you want, why would you sit here and still just say, I'm just going to throw my vote away?
I agree with you there. I agree with you. I agree with that.
Let me cut you off a little bit, because let's go back to your example that you made about you paying taxes and money's not going to where it wants to go to, whatever it may be. But if that's happening, what's the only way to change that, though?
You gotta do something.
You gotta remove the people that are allowing that to happen out of the positions of power, correct? And the only way that you can do that is what? Pushing initiatives, like you said, grassroots, going out and making sure people are voting along with yourself to make that thing happen. Because if you don't, then it's going to be the same course over and over and over again, unless by some way you get a big bag and now you're just the person that's pushing the agenda. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. So it's like, if you don't have that bag, like Shan was talking about earlier about campaigns, to really push something and get somebody where you want to be, really your only option is to do what?
Run for office.
Besides run for office.
That's pretty much what I was getting at. If you're not doing one thing, that's like your only option to make some real change.
That's what I was going to say. No, you're right.
Yeah, other than running for office and putting yourself in there, but...
You're right about voting, but I also think that another one of my problems that I've always noticed is that we have a tendency as African Americans, even though it doesn't always happen, statistically we actually vote more independent than we do Democrat or Republican. So it's like, my biggest problem is also the stereotype of like black people always vote Democratic. And so my thing is that's where my problem comes in. Like, it's not about saying that like you shouldn't not vote, but the expectation for us right here is that we would all vote Democratic, regardless of what happens, because the racism is overt in the Republican Party. You know what I mean? So my biggest problem, that's where my problem comes in, where it's like, I don't like sticking to norms. Like, norms sometimes have to get changed. I don't think any of
us do that.
Yeah, like, we have to change the norm at some point. And so for me, to answer your question, like I said, you can vote. My problem is that we got to stop just saying we all vote Democratic, and if we don't, it's a problem.
I agree.
And that was my point earlier when I was talking about the primaries and all that stuff. Being able to have that ballot, I feel like the ballot with all the candidates on it. Because like I said, if you go down and just go to, like we're talking about grassroots, local elections, things like that, if you go down, like on the normal presidential election, you have all the candidates, Republican, Independent, Tea Party, whatever it may be. Why isn't it like that on the primaries? Because you could say you're in a county, right? And you're going to the primary election, I explained this a little bit earlier, and you really want to make that change that Toby's talking about, you may like somebody in an opposing party as an independent and want to vote for them, but you can't because you have to register as either or, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, when you register, you have to put down which party you want to do.
Which is crazy. How does that make that a real agent of change?
It's not an agent of change, and that's the problem. That's the biggest problem.
The thing is, they don't want there to be agent of change.
But you see, the thing is, what's happening now is, I think that, well, this is what I prayed for politically, that I think that more people are starting to, hopefully more people are starting to see politics for what it is, because like you said, this whole two-party system really doesn't make sense to me, where it's like, you have people who, I'll use myself as an example, I believe in a lot of liberal social policies or stuff that they believe in, but financially, I think that there's a lot of things that we could take from conservatives. You know what I
agree.
mean? Yeah,
I agree.
So it's like, for me, it's like, it doesn't make sense that I have to choose mankind or my money.
Yeah, I don't like the party.
Yeah,
you don't like the.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it doesn't make sense that there's no people that can get voted into office that can give you guys a middle, but then you have to go and vote for somebody that worked with the Democrats, who's respected by the Democrats, and who's respected by the Republicans to be in office, and it could only be Democratic or Republican. You can't choose a third-party person who's independent of both these parties and just say, okay, this is what I want from you guys, this is what I want from you guys, and this is what we can do. Because my thing is, I've always said this, there's so many, I'm not saying that I don't have all the answers, but I guarantee you there's so many more simple ways where people can get the policies that they want done and get everything that they need done in this country, and we can progress forward, but we just don't want to do it. And why is that? Like, my question has always been, why is that? Is it because the rich white men in society just want to stay in power? Mm-hmm. Or is it because, like, you guys just don't give a fuck about the people? And that's just always been my thing. And
it's a little bit of both.
How do y'all feel about eradicating the party systems altogether? Not having Democrat, Republican.
I'm with it.
And just have just candidates that are just going to run. They're going to say what they have to say in their campaign, and then you vote. There is no Democrat. There is no Republican. Nothing. There is no parties. Do you think that would work?
They like,
I think it could work.
Do you think that would work?
I think it could work. But
how about if there was, this is like super off the wall, if there was no president, no figurehead. Now, that would be hard for it to be no figurehead, but the people themselves voted on all the laws.
That's too much. There's too many moving parts.
So I saw that on Twitter, and I saw there's something good to bring up.
All right, so the first thing you're talking about, no party system. I'm with the no party system.
Just having straight candidates.
I think you should have candidates, right? You should be able to, as an assistant, you should be able to speak your piece. If you want to, if Toby wants to run, or you want to run for the office, there actually be certain criteria for the run for office, in my opinion. But if you fit that criteria, you want to run for office, and you have a big enough backing to get people behind you that believe in your policies and what you want to do, by all means, do it. You feel me? You shouldn't be limited to, I have to join this group of people for them to back me and push me to me even have a chance. If the people like you, the people like you. If they don't, they don't. You know what I'm saying? That's my personal opinion.
So, with that caveat, so what happens with Bernie? So let's use that narrative right now, right?
Which
no
one?
Party
no
system,
parties or
no party system, and Bernie Sanders becomes president today.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still think that the country would? Do you still think that if he was president for 4 years, do you think that the country would still be the way? Do you still think the country would be as great as it is today, financially?
I have no idea because it hasn't happened.
I don't.
We can't. That's the thing. We can speak all hypotheticals, but you won't know until it happens. It's just like with the Joe Biden situation. People were saying, everything is going to this is going to... Bro, you don't know.
You don't know what the
nothing can change at all.
No, that's why I said, you can say what you want to say. You can have these great campaigns and have people backing you all day long. Even Kamala Harris are doing it, and people are going crazy for y'all. But until we see you act on what you said you was going to do, I don't care what you have to say.
Yeah,
to be honest.
And then on top of that, bro, it's like, like you said, the figurehead. Bernie's the figurehead, but it also has to play a part. All right, who's he putting in place in his administration to make things happen? What about the Senate and the House? That type of things. Can they get stuff done? Like what's going on behind those doors in those rooms to get stuff pushed? You can say based on his ideology, stuff will be a little different because he has a whole different way of thinking.
But I think that. But the problem with it is that it goes back to what I'm saying. When you have extremities, sometimes extremities cause a lot more casualties than we expect. Like if we my biggest opinion, just throwing it out there, socialism isn't gonna work 100% because you still need some type of way to have revenue in your country.
No, fact.
Socialism isn't built on a system that is run on creating revenue for the government or creating revenue just for the country. It's just based on having everybody be equal, right? And so the thing is that if everybody's equal and we're not increasing our capital, we're not really increasing the country's capital financially, what do you do in that point? Because you become stagnant. And then at that point, nothing else really works. So my thing is that to an extent, like, it works, like your no-party system works, but I think what will end up happening is that if we just solely rely on just the people and we just say, okay, we put this person in the office, it creates a lack of organization. So, and I'm not saying that in a lot of different cases, it's wrong, right? But if you have, say, 1 year you have Bernie, right? Next year you have a Donald Trump. We have Bernie who sits here and says, okay, we have everybody, public health care, public all this, everything is cool for everybody, right? Next thing you know, you have somebody completely on the other side. It's like, I'm taking all of that back. One, that becomes a financial liability.
It is a financial liability.
Two, that creates a situation where you're going to create an even bigger uproar than we have now. And I think three, it just becomes a situation where it's like there's no consistent progress. So I think that I don't think that the no-party system works, but I think that we need to be able to introduce another party that can work with the Democrats and the Republicans or even other parties to sit here and push the country forward.
But when you say that in terms of like the polar opposites, you know what I'm saying? You say you use Bernie and what Trump as an example.
Yeah.
Like I said, it just goes back to the people who were in the administration though. Like to get, like you said, you could have a Democratic president, but if the House or Senate or whatever is all Republican, they're really probably not gonna get that much shit done.
Correct.
And that's a fact. That's a fact. So even if you do vote Bernie into office and say he has all these socialist ties, not saying I vote for him, nothing like that, but it's the example you use. If the people that are in those positions to sign bills and all that stuff don't push his policies, then because you're talking about there'll be a whole radical change, a whole flip. It's like that only happens if everything flips with them.
You can put it in place, but it's still got to be.
That's what I'm trying to say. So it's like, I see the point you're trying to make, but it's like that goes down to the other elections, the Senate elections, that type of thing.
True.
You still have to vote all those people, and that's what I was talking about on the ballot. When you have everybody there, all right, I think this person fit well to push the agenda this way. If everybody has that ability to pick and choose who they want to be in that place, I feel like you would get more done in a sense because people are actually voting for who they want to and not limited to, all right, this is all I can pick from. This is my pool.
Yeah.
Just like now with the president. This is my pool. It's the best two evils.
Yeah.
People are always saying that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Me too.
I hate
but
that.
I feel like it's kind of the truth sometimes.
But it shouldn't have to be that way.
It shouldn't have to be that way, but I mean, do you love the fact that Biden is the president now?
I'm not gonna say I love it.
I'm saying, do you like either candidate? Because I'll be honest, like Toby said, when it came to him not wanting to vote, I kind of shared those same sentiments at first. Like, I don't even know if I want any of these people to be in office.
I think a lot of people had that, and that's what I said earlier. A lot of people it was more anti-Trump as opposed to pro-Biden. Like, I want Biden to be in office. I want him to be the president of the United States. A lot of people we want Trump out of office, so I'm voting for him.
That's the problem.
And even the conversation I had, like you said, that's a problem. When I ask people all the time, why do you think Biden is a better candidate than Trump?
Correct.
And they'll be like, well, Trump is just this, anything's better than Trump, so I'm voting him out.
And you want to know what's funny about that, right? Both of these dudes damn near have the same. They have the same exact resume, the same exact cases. For example, right?
I don't disagree with that at all.
No, really think about it.
Yeah.
Biden has been on almost every single crime legislation. He's been in support of it since 1974.
Oh, trust me,
and not even just that. Both of these dudes have sexual assault allegations, and it's like, Biden's better than Trump.
How? Flight logs.
And then I've heard people be like, oh, Biden's changed over time. He's a little more considerate, or whatever.
Oh, God.
Trump, he hasn't changed at all. It's like, come on, man. You can't move the goalposts.
You gotta know how politicians are.
If you don't hold people accountable, hold them accountable. Like you said, you have to know what politicians are. Joe Biden's a professional politician.
Yes, he is.
Joe Biden has a video. He has a eulogy speaking at a deceased Klansman's funeral. So you mean to tell me that the man who has a grandfather, whose grandfather is part of the KKK or great grandfather, whatever, you're not telling me he's better than the same guy who just spoke a eulogy at a KKK member's funeral? How does that work?
But people change. That's why people change. He apologized for it. Mm-hmm. That don't mean nothing.
This is why I'm saying it doesn't matter that Trump is out of office. It does, but at the same time, it doesn't matter until you do the thing that you said you was going to do. You know, you saying you're going to do all this stuff for the people, you got to do it. Because if not, it's going to be another 4 years or what? Mm-hmm. Like Toby said, kind of like the same thing as the Republicans. It's going to be the same thing.
It's just going to change. It's just going to be disguised a little different. That's all.
Right.
It's going to be covered up a little bit.
Right.
And for me,
back to what Toby said about people being shamed into voting. I see exactly what he's saying because you go on Twitter, you see all your favorite people. I use LeBron James as an example. Vote Biden. Vote Biden. Vote Biden for all the African Americans that are going to go see that. They're going to go vote for Biden without maybe doing any sort of research about him. That's a problem.
LeBron's such a big
influence,
what I mean?
Too. That's a problem. How many celebrities instead have we seen push these agendas of vote Democrat all over the place? I just think that it's an issue. People got to do the due diligence themselves.
The black rappers were the weakest links.
Yeah,
the black men were the weakest.
Black male rappers.
The whole election was just very weird. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if I like either candidate, to be completely honest. Much like the last election.
No, I feel that.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel we'll continue this conversation, but let's get into the Face of the Future song of the day.
Yeah.
Presented by Next Big Thing Faces the Future. You can check us out on Instagram at MBT_1%, on Twitter, MBT the Future, and check out our website at www.mbtfacesthefuture.com. We can check out our updates, our blog, artists of the day, playlist, all that. And check out MBT Radio, that's available on Apple, Spotify, and Audio Mac. You can get everything from the podcast, the playlist, and to all the artists we're listening to on a daily basis. So the Faces of the Future song of the day comes from Core. It's from his latest album, It Shouldn't Be Like This. I got to give a shout out to my boy Sarato. He produced this song titled Yeezy Slides. Shout out to the House of 99. He's a producer on them. There's a lot of good things coming from that camp, man. They got a whole lineup of producers headed by Charlie Heat. If you've heard of him, I know you've heard of him. He was most notably on The Life of Pablo with Kanye West, and he just of course Jersey. He's just done a lot of great things, and he started his own independent label, and they have a lot of stuff coming out, man. And I have the pleasure of working with him, so it's like I'm excited. Y'all gonna hear the record. There's a record coming soon, sooner than later. That's gonna blow your mind, in my opinion. So once again, this is Core, Yeezy Slides. Once again, that was Core Yeezy Slides off his latest project, man. Check it out. Like I said, once again, shout out to the House of 99 and my boy Sarato. He's a Philly native, young boy coming up, one of the hottest young producers in the game, man. So check him out. Like I said, tap into the House of 99. And once again, check out Next Big Thing Faces the Future, bro. Tap into us, subscribe to our newsletter, get all the updates that are going on in the community, man. We got a lot of good stuff coming up for you guys, and we'll just continue to expand. So let's jump back into the combo that we were having.
Yeah.
And I want to step a little bit away from the presidential candidate. Let's go down to Kamala Harris. I know Toby has some. Toby,
are you making that face, bro?
I know you have some opinions about this, but it's an historic moment, though. That's what I want to point out first. It's an historic moment in the history of the country. It's our first woman vice president, first black vice president.
Yes.
So it's
you gotta applaud her for that.
You gotta applaud her for that. And it's just representation in the White House for women in general, not just black women, but women all together as a whole. It's like it's a good thing to see, and I feel as though women probably had that same feeling that black people as a whole had when Obama was elected in 2008, saying that it's possible. She said that it's possibilities. Her being elected shows women in the whole country that there's possibilities that this can happen. You're not limited anymore. So, one, how do y'all feel about that? Two, how do you feel about her? So I want to hear both your opinions on that.
Congratulations to Kamala Harris. Thank you for being the first black vice president being voted, being in the White House. I think it's an amazing feat that you did. You're an inspiration to all black women everywhere, and I think that you'll do great things. And I think that you're a very beautiful inspiration to all black women everywhere. Shout out to the AKAs. Shout out to fam. Yeah.
But
what? But what? I know something's coming.
But you're still a cop. You're a cop, and that's it. Like,
explain what you mean though, because people don't have the same feelings that you have.
People don't have the same feelings that I have because they're looking at it from a standpoint. There's a black woman in office, so my black woman to all our black female listeners, I'm not coming at black women. I'm not saying that black women are anything. This is just my mere observation. I'm just a man with ideas.
Yeah, make that disclaimer because last episode they was ready to come for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
They was calling you messy.
Yeah,
they said who's the other person talking about that? He's messy.
Follow me on Instagram, Mus underscore.
Mus and Twitter. They didn't follow you on Twitter. They didn't
follow me on Twitter, Musology underscore.
I've seen it.
Dude, don't come from my look. This is Millz speaking. Do not come from my head.
Yeah, don't come for Shan either.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
so Mus, explain what you mean though for the people because you know what I'm saying you have thoughts on and you've had thoughts on this on social media. I've seen you get into conversations with people and you feel strongly about this audience, so I want to bring this to the pod.
We be tuned in.
Yeah, my biggest problem, from a standpoint of just saying for representation, if you want to look at representation, it is a great thing that Kamala Harris is in office. I do not disagree with that. My problem is that what type of representation are you trying to show? Right? Like, are you trying to show the representation of somebody who's not really tuned into the black community? Or are you trying to show representation of just saying this is a black woman, you can do it too? Because my problem with Kamala Harris is she's like, for people who don't know, Kamala Harris was a DA for California. Mm-hmm. She supported anti-truancy. Basically, she basically supported a lot of laws that was based on making people go to school. And if you miss school, there's potential that parents go to jail. This isn't saying that any parents did go to jail. But the problem is that Kamala Harris, as a black woman, you're supporting a bill that will indirectly affect a lot of black people. Because we understand that in California, in a lot of different places, in a lot of urban areas across the country, a lot of black women are single mothers. So now you're telling somebody who probably has to work 16-hour shifts, somebody who can't really pay attention to a child like that, and just assuming that they're going to school, that if their kids aren't going to school, that they may go to jail, right? That's a problem to me, because it's not even about the fact that you sent people to jail, which she hasn't. But my problem comes in is that the fact that you even support something that may be detrimental to a society that you're now all of a sudden claiming, when before you were just claiming yourself as an Indian woman, no shade, it's a problem. It's a problem. In addition to that, in terms of marijuana law, in terms of, like she said, there's a lot of people that were sent to jail under her administration for a lot of non-violent drug offenses. And then when the time did come in for her to even help some of these people out, she either just dismissed the case or she didn't even pay attention to it. So you had the opportunity to help a lot of these African Americans who were sent to jail. You didn't do it. You supported legislation that could potentially have been detrimental to the African American community, and then it's like I'm just supposed to be like, oh, she's a black woman, she's an AKA, woo, like no, for me, no, like people, like I'm not that type of person. Like, congrats, like your fam, cool, like hook me up with a job on the hill, but it's like for me, it's deeper than that. Like my biggest thing is that African Americans have been subjected to a lot of bullshit. Like since we've been considered citizens,
since the beginning of time.
Yeah, and it's like you being in this position, you were very wishy-washy in a lot of different things. You weren't like when it's time for you to speak about something, or when we would expect you to speak about something, you don't want to speak. But it was like, oh yeah, send these people to jail, or do this, do that, and it's like, yo, sis, like who are you really for? Are you trying to be a cop, which is what a lot of people are saying that you are, or are you really trying to help African Americans?
Has she, as the vice president, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I'll say something real quick. Like Tobe said, big shouts to her. First of all, politicians scare me, in the sense of just because they are so good at talking, and they're so articulate with their words, and they just know how to put words in certain places and make people believe all kinds of shit. From the very beginning, when it was decided that she was going to be Biden's running mate, a red flag went up for me just off the rip. Yep. Just because of the thing that she said about this man, the thing that she said, what his agendas are. Now y'all coming together.
You're talking about the debates.
Yeah, so now y'all are running mates. Now y'all are like buddy, but it's just weird. Politicians is a sketchy game. That's part of it. That's part of it.
From what I was told from people that I know that work on the Hill, apparently her family and his family are apparently really, really
very tight.
Yeah, like they're apparently super tight. So it's like the same thing with Mitch McConnell. Like, people don't know this, but like for people who don't know, Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader. Apparently, Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell are also good friends, because Mitch McConnell was at I think it was either Bo or his other son, like Joe Biden's other son's funeral. So like they're tight. So it's like these people don't know these things because you're not tuned into you're not the common person not tuned into the Hill. Yeah. So it's like when you for me when you see that it's like, okay, Kamala, like you calling this man a racist, you told all these women that you believe them. You know what I'm saying? And then you now go and accept the vice presidential candidate nominee.
You back him after saying all that stuff about him. You back him, 100%.
And it's like, how does that look? One, to your black women supporters who are actually victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, things of that nature. How does that look like to women? Where you say these things, I believe these women, I do this, and this, and now all of a sudden it's, oh my gosh, we support Joe, we love Joe, this, that, and the third. Like, it looks weird.
It looks weird. Did you run to get those black women's votes? You know what I'm saying? The whole thing to me is just I don't want to believe it, but the whole thing to me, when you peel back the layers, is sketchy. But that's just how politics works.
Obviously, it's placement.
Yeah,
I mean, she's placed there for a reason.
It's a plan for everything. I'm sure that was part of the,
Not to knock her. Obviously, it's like so. But another question that came up too, and I seen a lot of people that were that weren't really moved either way of like who won the election. They were saying, age has been a big thing. Like in this election, people are old. You feel me? Will Joe Biden last the full term?
If you want my honest,
and if he not, you'll be able to talk about this. And if he doesn't, let's say something does happen, God forbid, knock on wood, whatever it may be, her becoming the president of the United States. Do you think that the country is ready for that, based on what you know about her, and based on just the society in general?
If you want my honest opinion, one, I think Kamala Harris is there to how do I say this?
Run the show?
Not run the show. She's going to be there to ease people's emotions. When it comes to race, and I tweeted this, I'm very, very interested to see everybody who's so excited about Joe Biden being in office. I'm very excited to see their reactions when there's another unarmed black man shot and the president has to make an address based on what's happening in X city. Right, I'm very interested in seeing what he's going to say because we already know what he's going to say.
Agreed.
We already know what she's going to say. My problem is now, how are y'all going to react? Because y'all put her in office, you put him in office, and you guys are super excited, right? And so I think that Kamala Harris is there when it comes to race. When it comes to race relations, she's going to be the one speaking. She's going to be the one dealing with all the minority issues. What I mean by that, by like women, LGBT. You don't
want them to go crazy.
Yeah. But it's like, I think that she's going to be there for that. Do I think that she's also going to run a show? Yeah, I think she's going to be a lot more like Dick Cheney. And I think that she's going to be very, 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 very influential behind the scenes. I also think that I think that she's going to be very, very conservative. And I think
I think it's going to be conservative to start off.
No, they're going to
until people are eased and they're comfortable. Like, all right, cool. All right, they're going to make little slight changes in the beginning. I think they're in the public eye to make it seem like something's going on. And then once they're comfortable, I think then they're going to start doing what they do.
I think they're gonna. If you want me to be honest, I think they're gonna do a couple of things in like the first 100 to like probably 200 days. But I think after that, that's when I think it's gonna be the opposite, where they're gonna be a little bit more liberal and then they're gonna be more conservative towards the end of the term. Because I just think that I just don't think that Kamala is as liberal as we make her out to be. Like she's pushing herself to be liberal because they wanted the black woman vote. They wanted the black women to be there because they know how black women are in society. This isn't saying there's anything wrong, but
how are they in society though?
In a sense,
in
my opinion, I feel like a lot of black women feel like nobody supports them. There's lack of representation. There's a lack of different things that make black women feel empowered to do anything. So having Kamala Harris there, it puts it and her appealing to them. It puts them in a position where it's like, okay, you have a black woman in office, you guys can do anything. It's going to empower them to have that grasp on voters, because we know that, to be honest with you, most of the black men are not just going to vote Democratic. And we're not saying that they're going to vote for Trump, but black men statistically vote independent. That's just really what it is. And I think that their whole presidency is going to be very, very similar to Bill Clinton in terms of being more conservative than we think, but they're going to be loved by the African American community.
You said your question was, do you think the country's ready for her to be president?
Yeah,
I would say no, just because of the simple fact that there's never been a woman president. Who's ready to see that? We haven't seen it yet. Nobody can be ready to see that. It hasn't happened.
I think
it hasn't happened yet.
I think that you're right, but I also think because of how Kamala Harris is, I think that she would be able to handle it.
She'll be very captivating.
I think she'll be able to handle it for sure.
I think that she'll be able to handle it because she's very, very good at doing whatever it takes to get what she wants. And she's
a politician.
but she's an extreme politician. That's the scary thing
about it. She's a polarizing figure too.
Yeah.
She's a polarizing figure. Like, she's very strong in her beliefs, and like you said, she's going to do what it takes to get what she wants.
Nevertheless, the whole optics of her being first female vice president and African American woman at that is amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. Beautiful. And that's going to inspire a generation of young black females in this country that, like, that's awesome. You know?
And that's like you said, not to take anything away from everybody's opinion and stuff like that, but that's a huge factor.
Yeah.
You know, we speak of this all the time, representation in different avenues, not just, like you said, the hip hop and politics, not just politics, like hip hop and music, and you feel me, and sports.
Yeah.
It's like you see people in different avenues, whether you're a politician, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a CEO of a company, whatever it may be, seeing more representation pop up more and more and more. I think that'll be an agent of change if it's done the right way, though. They can't just be figureheads or puppet heads, just to get people like the quote unquote hope or think to change. It has to be people that's really implementing, and the people that are in those positions are putting the next generation on, so it becomes a cycle. All right, it's not just one of us. There's multiple of us. There's 3, there's 4, there's 5, and as the years go on, now you start to see that influx and change, and now you start to see that mixture of, it's not just all white people, or it's not just all one race. It's
just one woman like
her. One woman, or whatever the case may be.
I think, if you want me to be honest, I think that representation can happen, but I think the biggest problem is that I don't even think African Americans are given the space or the opportunity to do that because we're focusing on too many different things. I was talking to this with my girl the other day. I was like, the biggest problem, in my opinion, is that I think that there can be representation, but the representation doesn't happen because the people that can do the representation are focused on trying to make sure that they're okay.
Yeah.
And if we're given the space to not just sit here and think about just surviving, but necessarily trying to progress and thrive, I think that we'll see more representation. But as African Americans, we have to sit here and focus on just making sure that we have good credit, or making sure that we keep our job, because it's easy for us to get fired between us and the other black person that's working there. Or we have to make sure that the family's okay, make sure that our other family's okay. So it's like we have so many things that we have so many moving parts as African Americans that we have to think about on a regular basis, where it's like we don't even get to be like, all right, cool, like everything's settled. I don't gotta think about mom and dad. Mom and dad's fine. My brother's fine. All that. I just want to go work in politics and just go be a president or something like that.
Do you think that the ideology of gatekeeping is holding our community back? The whole thought process of being a gatekeeper, like, I hear this a lot, just like in music and entertainment industry, there's a lot of people that are quote unquote looked at as gatekeepers who dictate, all right, this person's going to be, this black person, I'll allow them to come up because they fit whatever, they're not going to mess up what I got going on, you feel me? And when you have someone that's super talented, but you may not see eye to eye on the way their views or it may be, so they're not going to allow you to propel, but really that person can be somebody, like I said, one of them agents of change. Either you might not disagree with everything how they're doing, or you see them as competition, so you don't want them to elevate. And I feel like that's another thing that kind of hinders our community as well.
100%.
Is like that competition factor. There's people like us who we don't care. We feel like, all right, it's good to have somebody that maybe opposes us and they're competing at the same level as us. But there's a lot of people that they have an ego problem. They don't want to see somebody do better than them. They don't think there's enough. There's not enough food out there for everybody to eat. When there's plenty of food out there for everybody to eat, but
no matter what, they want to be eating better than you.
They want to be eating better than you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Shut up. I mean,
that's your pops. I don't know what you're talking about.
Relax.
You a Kanye, so you gonna act like you're not a Kanye West fan?
I'm a fan of him as an artist, but I can't. That's the problem. His problem is that he doesn't know how to use his ego. Like,
he doesn't know how to articulate himself.
He's running in 24.
It's not about articulating himself. It's about knowing how to use your ego. Like if you're using your ego to fuel the fact that Drake runs the show now, that's a problem, right? But it's like, if you're using your ego to be like, yo, like, I feel like I can do this, I'm just solely going to do this, like you did when you made, like, your first 6-7 albums, that's fine. But the fact that now you're using your ego to be like, I can do everything, it's like, it becomes a problem. You know what I mean? And that's that's what I'm saying. You need to learn how to, like, the biggest thing, just not even with Kanye West, but just with people have to learn how to use their ego. Your ego is there to protect you, and your ego is there to help you. But if you misuse your ego puts you in situations that you're not supposed to be in. That's why it's like small niggas that have egos or have a Napoleon complex. You meet somebody, you meet Kimbo Slice, and you run your mouth to Kimbo Slice because your ego, and you get put to sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just as a side note, just learn how to use your ego.
And stuff like that ain't even be enough to humble some folks.
Exactly. Next thing you know,
they come back crazy.
They come back crazy with a gun, and the next thing you know, it's a problem.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, learn when and when not to use your ego, and that helps you go very far.
Nah, I agree, because like I said, my biggest thing is like, bro, and I just learned this, just climbing. I feel like we all learn this, like just climbing, and what we're trying to do is like, bro, if you remove your ego at the right time, it could benefit you in enormous ways. Like this, I had to learn how to do that. I'm still learning how to do that, bro. You feel me? Because we all feel like, especially, say like you're a referee or whatever, you have somebody else trying to come in and they're learning whatever, but you feel like you've been there longer than them, so you know more. It's just natural. It's just natural.
I've dealt with that already.
It's just even maybe not you specifically, but
coming in, being in my position with a lot of older guys that feel like maybe that should have been their position.
Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that.
But that's in every field across the board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's tough to navigate through that. It's tough because you feel like you never know. Somebody can run into somebody just because of the fact that they don't like you. You shouldn't deal with that person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then like the one person, let's say they're good friends with them, like, dang, I'm not even gonna go near that. When really it might not even be the case. You know what I mean? So that whole gatekeeping thing, it could be very detrimental.
Yeah.
Like Toby said, people's egos. When most people's egos get involved, it's never good.
Never good at all.
Ever. Because how many times do we hear people tell us you got to put your ego to the side?
Yep.
People don't do that.
They don't.
Especially now, people don't do that.
It's me.
Yeah, people don't do that.
I don't even think, and I think it's because people don't even know when their ego is talking and when
they don't.
And that's a problem.
People don't ever want to listen to what you have to say.
They don't.
Because they think, oh, fuck you know.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And
Literally.
And the biggest thing, even when people are talking, they say you're in a debate with somebody. I probably said this before in the pod before. You're in a debate with somebody and you have opposing views. Most of the time, when you're saying your view, they're not even listening to what you're saying.
Yes,
they're listening. They're building a rebuttal in their head already.
Correct.
They're pinpointing to one little thing, and now it's like, all right, F everything else he's saying. When he's done talking, I'm about to fire him up on this shit.
Yeah.
And I've done that before.
To me, that shit is weak.
Yeah, but I'm saying we've all done it. Yeah, it's super weak. We can't. Because I do that, like, especially if I know, like, mentally, and if I'm a better communicator to you, I know I get my thoughts up better than you. We're debating in front of people, or maybe just one-on-one, and I know I have problems all the time. I'm going to just let you talk, and it's like, I'm articulating in such a way, it's like, it's going to make you feel a way about yourself, bro.
Trying to make somebody feel stupid.
Yeah, but it's like, it's not even intentional, it's just habit sometimes. But I've learned to get away from that. And I was like, now you guys sit back, and I become more of like a listener. Like, I try to listen to what people are saying, so that you gather their thoughts, and then
it's okay to agree to disagree, especially like when it comes to this whole like political, like this whole election stuff. You like, I was on Twitter the other day and I saw something that said it used to be, a bad thing to ask somebody who they voted for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, in conversations, it's who did you vote for, and then once you tell somebody who you voted for, they are automatically going to, in their mind, put you in a category of the kind of person they think you are.
Yeah.
It's because of who you voted for.
Just based off the name.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's okay to agree to disagree. You could vote for Trump. We have friends that have voted for Trump.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily mean that we don't like them or hate them.
Oh, true. We do.
That's the truth.
We don't put it on blast.
Yeah, but that's the truth. I mean,
okay. I get what you're saying.
I know people that have voted for Trump that I've been cool with for years, but.
And I'm still cool with them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like because we've had the reason I'm cool with them still is because we've had that conversation.
Yes.
Like, why are you doing? Like, why do you feel this way when it doesn't? In reality, in my opinion, it doesn't benefit you. But you just somewhere down the line, in my opinion, you just got wrapped up in this thought process
and
or influence. It's okay. It's fine.
That's okay. You still my man. And like I said, I listened to what you had to say. You listened to what I had to say. We said what we had to say. We agree to disagree. That's fine. I don't hate you because of it now. I'm not gonna be like, oh fuck you, man. You ain't my homie no more.
Yeah.
Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think to go off that, I feel like if you have rhetoric that directly parallels, like, say, racism, xenophobia, things of that nature, then there's a difference. Because, like, for me, I'm not going to tolerate that.
There is a line.
It's like some people are like, because you can tell when some people read up about stuff, and you can just tell when some people just listen to what a politician is saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of people have just listened to more what Trump is saying versus what he's actually doing.
Exactly.
This isn't to say that Trump hasn't done anything bad, because we all know that. But some people really just listen to what he says and just see news headlines and just assume and consume bad media. They just, it's okay, it's whatever. Like, this is fine. Like, that's not it. You know what I mean? Because when you actually sit down and you go and seek the truth, you go down and you seek more information, you find out that, maybe Trump is a shithead. Maybe Trump did some things that aren't that good. And that's why, like, going back to the whole election thing, it's like, Joe Biden is saying these things, oh yeah, it was a mistake, it's this, it's that, it's this, and it's like, but my nigga, the reality of the situation is that you still send people to jail. Like, part of the reason why the community is the way that it is
because of you.
It's because
of the Democrats in general.
That's why.
Let's put that out there.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Like, think about it. Like, Joe, you're saying it's a mistake, but think about Philly right now. They're all, like, everybody in here, the chief of police, the governor, mayor, all that, it's a completely blue city.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just telling me, oh yeah, the crime bill's a mistake. But it's not
a
enough.
mistake for the people that were affected by it.
Yeah, it's not enough to say that.
And those people, like the kids that were affected by it too, because they might not be affected directly, they're not going to prison, but the generational like mishandling of their families and stuff like that, and putting people behind bars because whatever. Because I had this conversation about the crime bill too, about the three strikes.
And that's Clinton, Democrat.
And I was talking about, bro, what if you have somebody that's on it? Say they committed a crime in the past, whatever it may be, they did their time, it was minor, whatever they did their time, and they can't get back on their feet, so they're starving. They got to feed their family, so they go to steal something to go feed their kids, whatever. I can't say you need to go to jail for the rest of your life. That shit goes straight because you had to make a choice. All right, I'm gonna let my kids whatever starve, or I'm gonna go do whatever
money and provide
like whatever it may be. And not saying whatever they do is right or wrong, but I don't feel like because it's your third time or second time you should be incarcerated for the rest of your life.
Yes.
It's just crazy to me.
That whole thing, what you just said, that's all systematic. That whole thing goes back to the whole systematic, bro. The system is flawed.
It's
sorry.
Because I even saw people, what?
My bad. I saw on the internet, Alex Trebek from Jeopardy just died.
Oh, damn.
My bad.
R.I.P. to Alex Trebek. That's crazy.
R.I.P. to Alex Trebek.
Was he sick though?
Yeah,
he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And he was still trying to do Jeopardy.
Dang, that's crazy. R.I.P. That's a legend.
R.I.P. to him. Prayers up to Alex Trebek and his family. Yeah, it was very, very interesting. I know we've had I think we've had people from our high school, our teachers from our high school. I think they were either on Jeopardy.
Mr. Santiago.
Mr. Santiago was on
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. I think it was Mr. Camp. Mr. Camp was on.
Oh yeah, he did go on Jeopardy.
Shout out Mr. Camp. I follow him on Facebook.
Great follow.
He has me.
Wow, that just
that
kind of hurt me.
Rest in peace. Prayers up to him. Prayers up to his family. We fought hard. Yeah. Because we knew about this since last year. So.
Yeah, it's been. That's why I said I remember him being sick.
That's an icon, man.
Yeah, icon without a doubt. And
wow,
I posed this question to a few people as well. How does it feel knowing that this year is going to be like a vital moment in the history of the United States? I feel like in terms of everything that's went on this year. Like it's going to be a year that's going to talk in our history books.
This year has been wild.
It's been crazy.
I feel like last year going into this year, like I said this year before. I feel like everybody, especially our generation, was on a wave. Like this is going to be the year we're done saying what we're going to do. This is going to be the year we're going to do it. Whether people did it or not, I feel like this was the year where everybody was kind of on the same page. It's like, playtime is a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Playtime is over for all of us. And there have been so many things that have happened this year. Kobe passed. COVID, this election. I mean, people have died. This year has been crazy, and as much of a quick year as it's been a very long year.
It's long, yeah.
A lot of stresses. People losing their job. People going on unemployment, getting your hours cut at work. The things people have to deal with this year has been crazy, and it is a very vital moment in history, like you said, with the George Floyd thing, going to the protests. That's something that we'll never ever forget.
We're never gonna forget that
ever.
It's gonna be it's one of those embedded moments in our history that you won't be able to glance over.
Yes.
It'll be either this year was a turn for an upward spiral or a turn for a downward spiral.
Correct.
We won't know until the following years occur, you feel me? But this is a pivotal moment in our nation's history.
Yep.
And it's interesting to think about, it's intriguing to think about, but it's also scary to think about at the same time because like I said, everybody this year is supposed to be a year of change for a lot of people in a positive way, but it went the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I feel like it went the opposite
because of the circumstances.
I think all over the world, I think that this has been it's bad in a sense that bad things are happening, right? But for me, the way I've been looking at it is, I think it's what you take from it and how you plan to move from this.
Agreed.
No, I agree. We're not saying that. We're just saying on the grand scheme of things of how we quote unquote not hyped up with the expectations that we have for this year. In terms of like Shannon said, the mindset that we had going in, going in 2020, there was so much positivity, like a substantial amount of positivity going into 2020. And now as we come to the end of 2020, what's the vibes of it? People are in disarray, bro. It's crazy.
And thinking about just how many people out there in our country don't know where to get their next meal from, or just haven't been able to work or haven't been able to make money. The three of us are blessed. You know what I mean? A lot of us are blessed that we have been able to keep our jobs, been able to do all these things. You know, COVID hasn't been all bad for all of us. Like you said, taking some positivity from it. I lost 50 pounds during COVID. Yep. You know what I mean? And you lost weight. Everybody's been trying to get themselves together, and we making the best of it. But I mean, like you said, the future is kind of scary because we don't know what the fuck is going to happen.
Yeah.
With the unknown is the scary part.
Yeah, I think that's where we're all gonna agree on that, because it's like you never know. Like, for all we know, COVID may not go away next year. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think that's what we have to really think about. It's like, what's the best takeaways from this? It's like learn more about yourself. Learn more about your family. Like, be with your family. You know, like. Just a little bit of transparency. Like, my cousin had to move in with me, my family, because he was doing renovations at the house. He has not been he's given them most of the money. They have not started any renovations on his house, so he's gonna be there for a hot minute. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and just gaining time with him, and his son coming back home from the hospital and stuff like that. Like, I've just been able to just be with my family together more. You know what I mean? And it's like, it makes you appreciate a lot of the things that you may not have thought about when you're going to work, go to the gym, go out, do your daily routines. You know what I mean? Because for the most part, we're stuck at home, and that's just really it. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless you're going to the gym, food, whatever.
That's a fact.
So it's just like, you just got to take what you can from it. And that's why I said it's just like, we're all still alive. God willingly, none of us will catch COVID. We're all staying healthy. We're all doing the best that we can to maintain. And I think that's the best way we got to moving forward, because it's just, I think all over the world, that's how a lot of people are trying to move now, in terms of like trying to make the best of whatever situations that they have, so. It's
been rough for a lot of people. I think about a lot during this whole COVID thing. The kids, the younger generation of kids, because, during football, I talk to a lot of these kids, and I always ask the kids, are you guys virtual, you guys in school? Some say, even some kids on the same team, like the game I had yesterday, said, well, I'm going to school, but my parents don't want me in school, so I'm virtual. And like, for that, going down to the younger kids, for high school kids, it's still hard. For freshmen in high school, it's hard because we all know what it's like to go to high school for the first time.
High school is where you're supposed to find yourself.
Right, you miss that social aspect. For me, it was how to deal with people, how to deal with people that have different personalities in you and different attitudes and outlooks on life. So I think about that, and just them learning how hard it's been for kids to learn virtually. That's hard for college kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Imagine it for a 10 or 11-year-old trying to sit there and focus all day on the computer.
Just a fact.
So I think about the younger generation. This COVID, I think, is going to jack them up a little bit. That whole generation of kids is going to fuck them up.
I agree, and I feel like, just to touch back on the unknown that we were talking about, I feel like unknown is so scary to us right now. It's for the simple fact that we've been isolated for so long. We never had time to really sit with everything that's going on in our lives. You feel me? Like Toby's talking about family, things like that. Just not even just families, other different stresses you may have. This COVID forced your ass to sit down and think about, reevaluate. All right, is my shit together? Or when this stuff's done, what am I gonna do to make sure if something like this happens again, me and my people is straight? Right. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's why the fear of the unknown is such a big thing this time, as opposed to the unknown's always there. Mm-hmm. It's always there. It's just not gonna go away. We don't know what's happening in the future, even when you go into anything new, whether it's law school, or it's going to become an NFL ref, or me trying to build a brand. The unknown's always there, but moments like this force you to sit down and really, all right, what we gonna do to make this shit happen?
And you gotta come with plan A, B, C,
you feel me?
You know what I mean?
If this happens, what we're gonna do?
Yeah.
If this happens, what we're gonna do? If we run it, and then once you do that, which people should have been doing this year, which I feel like you said, positivity, that's a time to sit down and reflect, which is always good to have time with yourself and really meditate and reflect on what's going on next. Use that to your advantage.
Yeah. But
that's all you really can do. But before we close up, I want to touch on the stuff that's happening in Nigeria. I don't want to overlook that.
Yeah.
Because we got some time left. So Toby, if you can explain what SARS is.
Hold on. This is your homeland, so I know this probably touches.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't want to just forget about it. So we can have like a little segment on this and just give our listeners some information about what's going on in Nigeria, because it's crazy. The stuff you sent me was ridiculous.
Nuts. Yeah,
ridiculous. Like people think like the type of police brutality in America is bad. Don't get me wrong.
Yes,
it's very, very, very bad. But over there, it's freaking extreme, bro.
How many times have I said on this show, people in this country have no clue what it's like to live somewhere else. No clue.
So can you explain what SARS is? Like, what is that? What was it made for?
The SARS is I don't even remember what it stands for. It's like something anti-robbery unit or something like that. Like the system of anti-robbery unit or whatever. Basically, it was